Six different running backs that you have to draft before they break out in fantasy football this year, because Ty, in our cases, we believe they potentially carry league winning upside. So let's start with your first player, Cam Skattebo of the New York Giants, who has made himself a hot topic of conversation this offseason.
Very hot topic, because we can't resist doing backflips and then making ourselves look a fool. And now here we are in training camp, and we pick up some injury scares along the way. And let me just, tell you, it was to the other leg, not to the leg that he injured last year. So we don't need to talk about injuries, right? And all that comes with that at this point. There's a group of people out there that would talk about the splits with and without Tyrone Tracy as if this backfield is going to be an awkward split, or that you're going to see more Tyrone Tracy than you would like. And I just kind of laugh whenever I hear about it, because I'm just like, everything that we've heard this summer is that it is Cam Skattebo. It is Cam Skattebo's backfield, and everyone else is just kind of fighting for the scraps, the other running back touches, when Skattebo needs to go catch a breather, because the dude legit runs like the Tasmanian devil. Okay, so not only is Skattebo the best running back on this Giants team, but he is the best fit for this team as well. That is going to be more man gap heavy compared to Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. Okay, I want to keep mentioning their names because it's, to me, it's obvious that like Cam Skattebo is the guy, and he's worth investing in, even coming off of the injury that he just had, because I think there's a chance that he not only performs at his current price tag right now because of a potential dip in performance off the injury, but it's what he can do in the second half of the year when he's back to being 100% in game shape and up to game speed, all of those things. So like I said, to me, you're drafting a guy at a potential discount because he has the ability to produce at a top 20 level, maybe a low end top 20 level, but still producing, that he's not going to completely bust on you at the beginning of the year, and has the potential to then pay off in dividends when he's fully up to speed, because the backfield is his. He's going to score. He's going to catch passes.
Yeah, I mean, when Skattebo was on the field last year, we're talking about a guy who was putting up RB1 numbers, right? We're talking about 14.6 fantasy points per game in half PPR formats. That's an RB1 pace, not overall, but yeah, again, a top 12 running back pace in his 8 games. Even as a receiving back, 0.7 yards per route run. We're talking about 2.8 yards after contact per attempt. I mean, essentially the dude is producing out of nothing, right? So you named it. The dude runs like the Tasmanian devil, which is the pro. The con is the dude runs like the Tasmanian devil, and who knows what injury he could pick up this year, right? So on the one hand, I'm okay leading into Cam Skattebo as a league-winning running back. I also need to hold the reality that this is a fragile projection. And what I mostly mean by that is I'm okay projecting Cam Skattebo aggressively, especially when he was dominating the snaps, right? Like you said, Tyrone Tracy wasn't really factoring much into the picture there. But the catch here is that what if we only get 12 games of Cam Skattebo this year? Could it be a breakout? Sure, but it's not going to win you your league down the stretch if you're missing Cam Skattebo for the final 6 games this year. So, but you can break that up in a multitude of different ways. The talent is there. I think the offensive line is there as well. So I'm actually okay to say, like, go draft Cam Skattebo, mostly because I'm okay living a little in round 4 of your fantasy football drafts. I'll be honest, there's a lot of players in this range over on Sleeper that I'm okay drafting. The 4th round is just loaded with players. But if you do need a running back in this range, I don't hate trying to justify Cam Skattebo here. I'm actually going to bring us back up the board a little bit because there's a running back I want to talk about in round 2 by the name of Omarion Hampton. If you've been listening to our show all off season, I have been gushing about how much I love Omarion Hampton this year. To me, this is the perfect storm of situation and talent. We know Omarion Hampton is talented. He earned bell cow level usage last year, averaging over 17 touches per game, while also ranking 7th in catches per game as well. And when he played over 75% of the snaps, 17.5 points per game in those contests. We also know Mike McDaniel can scheme up an absolutely diabolical run game, Ty. In the last 3 years alone, Mike McDaniel has provided 4 running back 1 campaigns, 4 top 12 campaigns. 3 of those went to Devon Achane. One of those went to Raheem Mostert, right? So the big buzz that got a rise out of people yesterday was Mike McDaniel saying, we're going to play the hot hand. I don't know which games it's going to be. Bad news for fantasy managers. Like, hi, that's a big nothing burger to me. I am not concerned at all because Omarion Hampton is a superior talent. I also think it's true that Keaton Mitchell can actually be a sneaky good pick in the RB 40 to 45 range this year, and both beat their ADP behind what should be a healthy and much better offensive line than what they put out on the field last year. To me, we don't have to overcomplicate this. What more do we want than a very talented player in a very optimal situation to create fantasy points for us?
I'm glad you're talking about Omarion Hampton because from one, on one side of things, because of what McDaniel said yesterday, but also like, me, we are the pro Chargers guys, right?
Yes.
Like we are all in on this team. So this, like, as obvious as a player as could be for this kind of episode, like this is a very similar argument that I made for Jeremiah Love a couple weeks ago at this point, where LaFleur was like, yeah, we're just going to use the hot hand. And it's like, okay, I'm still going to trust the guy that's the supreme talent over the other guys, right? This is the same for Omarion Hampton. The biggest thing for me is maybe this comes down to like, what does the receiving work look like? Is the gap between Omarion Hampton and Keaton Mitchell a little bit closer now at season's end? Possibly. But there's one thing that Omarion Hampton is going to get more than Keaton Mitchell, in my opinion. That's going to be rushing volume, and it's going to be touchdowns.
Yep.
And so to me, like you said, it's kind of a big nothing burger. Maybe it's more pro Keaton Mitchell than it is anti Omarion Hampton, right?
Yep.
Both of those things can be true. So like you said, I'm not scared off. This is very much I was kind of expecting this. Like Keaton Mitchell is going to factor in. Kamani Vidal.
All NFL teams operate.
Exactly.
If you don't use multiple running backs, you're asking for your stud running back to pick up an injury at some point during the season. It is wise to rotate through talented running backs that you have on your roster to play different roles. So Omarion Hampton isn't top 3 in carries, targets, right? Like, we don't need to make him a Christian McCaffrey to be a prime breakout candidate.
Bingo.
We'll keep moving. But if you've noticed too, you've probably noticed this fancy ADP board we have over here as well. That's actually on our site over at fantasyfootballfellas.com, where you can get a full ADP explorer. You get our full rankings, our full projections for this upcoming season, and countless other tools to help you make better decisions in your league this year. And fantasyfootballfellas.com if you want to go check out our brand new site, our brand new app. We're live on Apple and Google as well, so you can actually go download the app on your phone. You're not reliant on just fantasyfootballfellas.com. Let's go back down the board a little bit, Ty. How about Jadarian Price being the next player you want to bring up? I sway on him quite a bit. There's days where I wake up and I'm like, man, Jadarian Price, running back 26, sweet. And there's other days where I'm like, yeah, I'm not in love with Jadarian Price here, but if I need a running back, I could do a lot worse.
You could do a lot worse. And Price also suffers from the Skattebo problem of just like, look at where he goes in drafts and you're just like, man, it's hard to really.
It's tough.
Like, hey, Parker Washington sitting right there over an underdog. And like, you look at your home leagues and Jadarian Price is like consistently a 6th round pick, right? So in my eyes, I just see this as you could start off 2 running backs, 3 receivers, then Jadarian Price is your running back 3. Or you start off with, any kind of other variation of pass catchers, and it still makes sense for Jadarian Price to be on your team, but not in a role or in a spot where he needs to produce right away. So there's that side of it. But like, let's dig into situation. Let's dig into the Seattle training camp, buzz and headlines so far for Jadarian Price. There's a tweet from Zane Donani, who is now over on Fantasy Life. Congrats to the man Zane.
Congrats to Zane.
It gives you all the context that you need for this backfield. Okay. it's a 1-2 punch with Jadarian Price and George Holani until Zach Charbonnet comes back. If the team sticks with the Ken Walker Charbonnet split, which has kind of been hinted at by a lot of the local reports and in the beat reports and all that stuff, Jadarian Price slides in as the Ken Walker of the equation, and George Holani is then the Zach Charbonnet until Charbonnet comes back. But the detail that everyone seems to gloss over here is that Jadarian Price is going to be hard to keep off the field. Everyone has been saying it. So in the meantime, and so maybe this is more so my thing of, I don't believe that Zach Charbonnet is going to fully be back until midway this year. And whether he's playing, sure, that will impact the distribution of the touches and all that stuff, sure. But I don't think that we truly see a real Zach Charbonnet until later on this year, just because the dude literally had his procedure in February. It's usually about an 8-9 month recovery timeline. So that puts you into October, November. Even if he is padded up in September, like a lot of people are kind of hinting at, I don't really think it's truly going to be that much of it. When I say that much of an impact, I just mean there's room for Jadarian Price to convince the coaching staff that he's trustworthy, that he can stay on the field and take some of those touches from Charbonnet until he's back. So I also don't want this to sound like it's an obvious miss by the fantasy community by ranking him outside the top 24, outside the top 25, having him outside the top 5 rounds, right? But there's more than meets the eye when it comes to Jadarian Price, because again, he goes that much later that it's not just he's a complete avoid. I don't want to deal with the headache. There's something here to Jadarian Price, and it's going in a range of drafts that you don't have to risk depending on him right away for your fantasy team.
So the pendulum that keeps swinging me back on Jadarian Price from being completely bullish on him is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm interpreting from what you're saying is that you're not as concerned about Zach Charbonnet returning. Let's say he does return week 6, 8, somewhere in that range. We'll call it late October. You're not as concerned about him coming in then, and then Jadarian Price, who could let's not kid ourselves too much here. Top 20 running back numbers is probably within his range of outcomes through the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season. You're not as concerned about those numbers tailing off over the back half of the season, because I think that's where I start to get a little bit skittish of, I might get half of a season where Jadarian Price is going to be a top 24 running back. But when Zach Charbonnet comes back, am I sure Jadarian Price is going to be a weekly running back 2 in my lineup? And I personally don't have my own thoughts and opinions sorted out on that yet, because I need to know more about Charbonnet's recovery timeline, because I think here's where I'll maybe leave the question off to you. If we get 10 weeks of Jadarian Price being a top 25 running back in fantasy football, I think that's worth it to pay off at ADP. I just get skittish where over the back half of the season are we going to see a nerf to his fantasy points when Zach Charbonnet comes back, because coaching staff still clearly likes him.
I think it's fair to say that you can have a wait and see approach while also benefiting from the beginning half of the year with Jadarian Price, where you get later on into the season, you start to know more about the Zach Charbonnet timeline, where he's at again, in the world that, hey, maybe he's actually padded up by week 4, right? Again, is
I think terrible for this thing. If Zach Charbonnet is back and suited up by week 4, and I get that, we don't know that on August 11th, when some people's fantasy drafts have literally happened yesterday. I've got people texting me that their fantasy drafts happened yesterday. Oh, I will pray for you amidst training camp and preseason games. But I understand we can't forecast that right now, but that's the reason why I'm do I need to draft Jadarian Price before he breaks out? That's where I pull back the reins a little bit, because I just don't know with Zach Charbonnet and what impact he's going to have.
Sure. Sure. Maybe not need to draft Jadarian Price, but
well, you failed this video. You suck.
The comments are going to get me.
They're going to come at you. I got you. You played yourself.
But let's just say it's a vote of confidence for the people that are I keep hearing about this Jadarian Price guy. Sure. I'm kind of intrigued. yeah, you get my stamp of approval. And on the chance that, hey, Zach Charbonnet comes back, isn't the Zach Charbonnet that we're familiar with? Yes, it's still the split, but maybe that split shifts more to Jadarian Price because again, the dude is so good that they can't take him off the field. And again, maybe this is a bit of the Vikings bias to just wrap this up. When you've got teammates saying that he looks like prime Dalvin Cook, you pique my interest. You pique my interest. That's all. That's all that I'm saying.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog, where you can get into the game this season playing Pick'em. It's extremely simple. Just pick higher or lower on 2 or more of your favorite players. For example, I'll pick the higher on Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Xavier Worthy. If I played $10 and got all 3 of them right, I would win $60 just by watching football. And that's the beauty of Pick'em. You can track your picks and your wins while you enjoy the game. Now, if you're not on Underdog yet, scan the QR code on your screen or use our code FELLAS when you sign up, because new customers will get $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5 on the app. Plus, Underdog will give you a free pick to use in your first entry. Again, that's code FELLAS over on Underdog. Now let's get you back to the rest of the show. I might get the people riled up with my next player. I have no regrets whatsoever, though. I'm coming back around on TreVeyon Henderson. I'm ready to swing big for the fences this year, Ty. I truly am ready to swing for the fences. This feels like a not wrong, just early situation. And we love saying that, right? For us TreVeyon truthers, never wrong, just early. I feel like that's what this could be this year. The man put up 3 games of over 27 fantasy points last year when he was given the rock. He was top 12 in explosive run rate, so there should be no question around the talent and production that he can put out on the football field. The metric, though, Ty, that I am most fascinated with, that according to Player Profilers tracking, TreVeyon Henderson faced the 3rd highest rate of stacked boxes last year. 19.4% of his runs came against 8 or more defenders in the box. So what happens now when you add a legitimate alpha field stretcher in A.J. Brown to this offense? Do we get TreVeyon into more open space opportunities this year where we know the man is lethal? You saw the man return kicks last year. He is lethal in open space. Can we see the dynamism become the priority over Ramondre Stevenson, who, like, to me is kind of like a clear-cut cap casualty for the Patriots at the end of this season? They got it out. He's only $3.2 million in dead cap. Otherwise, they got to pay him $9 million and $11 million the 2 following years. Like, I understand people like the safety. If we're looking over at the ADP board, like, I understand people like the safety of potentially Monty or Quinshon Judkins in this range as well. But neither of those guys, to me, Ty, at their absolute peak, carry league winning upside in the same way that TreVeyon Henderson does. So, like, fool me once, shame on you, Mike Vrabel, amidst other things in life, but fool me twice, shame on me. And I guess I'm willing to find out this year. Like, sorry, I shouldn't have gotten you with that before. It came into my head, and I'm like, I miss other things in life. I mean, goodness, shame on you. But fool me twice. Maybe Josh McDaniels is the better audience for this statement. Then shame on me if you're not going to use TreVeyon Henderson the same way this year.
Yes, the fact that you threw that in the last like 2 seconds of your argument before throwing it over to me, that's like 2 minutes for interference. Like, that's just that is like setting me up to fail. So, gosh, we've talked about TreVeyon a good amount this offseason. I'm still more about, hey, when it comes to drafts, I'm still taking Ramondre at cost, while understanding that TreVeyon at cost.
Yeah.
While also understanding that TreVeyon has in the range of outcomes to eventually kind of be the lead guy in this backfield at some point. The thing that I can't shake right now is all the noise still coming out of New England that TreVeyon is still looking like the TreVeyon of last year. Steps are being made, sure.
Not great at pass pro, which we thought he'd be okay in.
Yes. To me, how do I say this without stirring up so much controversy? When I look at the backfield splits in New England and Seattle, and I look at TreVeyon and I look at Jadarian Price, I'm more hedging my bets now on Jadarian Price than I am on TreVeyon Henderson, partially from a perspective of who is actually like going to be on the field and who's going to stay on the field then. And to me, that goes to Jadarian Price. The other side of that then is also who's actually going to maybe that's actually just the only argument is just who's going to stay on the field. Okay. So TreVeyon Henderson and Jadarian Price to a certain extent. Maybe I shouldn't say Jadarian Price, but it's more so for TreVeyon Henderson. The range of outcomes is so wide, right? Where
Sure,
there is top 15 for TreVeyon if everything goes right. You see the development and all that stuff. And I love your point about the stacked boxes because it is certainly a possibility that we get into week 3, week 4 of the season, and we start seeing TreVeyon kind of starting to emerge a bit. And it's not going to shock me if it's in part, it's in part because defenses are just now respecting the pass game a little bit more for New England. So this is one where I will personally wait and see as the season goes on. I don't think you're going to be missing a whole lot off the rip, but there may be some signs at the beginning of the year that lead me to believe actually there is something to TreVeyon, later on, maybe midway through the year, where I'm like, actually, I may want to go just send a feeler offer out to whoever has it.
So that's my worry though, is you're too late at that point. You're too, because
Ooh.
as soon as any sort of inkling of TreVeyon Henderson on the verge of a breakout like surfaces in football, it's too late to go send that offer. You're paying up for a premium then to go get the guy, or you can take him in the range of DeAndre Swift, Bashal Tutin, who all of a sudden it's, I don't want to put too much weight into co-starters at training camp with Chris Rodriguez, but the pendulum's been swinging back down on Bashal Tutin a little bit, right? Quinton, like it's too late at that point. So again, I lean on you have to draft them before they break out, because this is how I play fantasy football, right? People hate it that I play to swing for the fences and hit a grand slam and absolutely demolish my league mates. And if that swing and a miss, results in striking out, so be it. I'm playing to win my league though. And that's why as soon as we feel like we're on the cusp of that breakout, it's already too late, because you should have just drafted TreVeyon Henderson in the first place. That's what it comes back to for me when I look at the situation in New England. And I think it could be optimal for TreVeyon to potentially get on the verge of that breakout. We see enough improvement. And then by then, when people realize that it's already too late, that's where I'm coming from here.
I guess I just trust my ability in trade talks to get it done before it's too late. I'm just saying, wheel and deal.
Stand up to Cameron, even though Cameron is just a volume shooter.
Like he just wears you down. But my thing is, hey, I see where you're at. I see your weaknesses. Let me help you out. And you help me out by giving me the guy that could, ultimately elevate me to winning it all.
Well, another guy that could potentially elevate you to winning it all. You and I are in agreement on this one. I've been harping on Jordan Mason. He's one of my most drafted players this year over on Underdog. I love the take here that he's a must draft. Like, even if people who are watching this video don't think, he's too old for a breakout, he's 27, like at cost, people should be drafting all the Jordan Mason they can, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, I don't want this to come across as like Aaron Jones is a nothing in this offense. Like, Aaron Jones will still be a part of this, right? But just at cost, right? Like, the fact that Jordan Mason's closer to 40 than he is to 30, it just doesn't really compute in my brain when everything that we've heard this offseason is Jordan Mason, Jordan Mason, Jordan Mason. So sure, maybe there isn't, we've talked about this Vikings offense and Kevin O'Connell, and that a zebra doesn't change his stripes and all that stuff. Like, there's something to that for this Minnesota offense, but I also am willing to buy in at running back 38. Like, this is one of those scenarios that is low risk just because of where you're buying him at. Potentially high reward that, hey, maybe Jordan Mason can slide in as like a flex play on a bye week, or best case scenario, he's a every week running back, player for you, because again, like he asserts himself as the guy in Minnesota's offense that we are all projecting to be much better this season, because Kyler Murray's in town, and just saying, the dude is now officially the starting quarterback. Yes. So like I said, this doesn't even need like statistical breakdown or anything. This is just reading tea leaves, reading between the lines, reading the words. Like,
The
it's
literal
Jordan
draft
Mason
board.
time. Right. Like,
Yeah.
give me Jordan Mason as just the flyer last like running back death piece when I know that there is substantial upside here for him to at least stay on my team at some, instead of looking at him kind of like he was last year of like, man, do I really need to hold on to Jordan Mason after week 7, week 8 of last year?
Like no reason Tyler Algier should be going ahead of him on sleeper. No reason Zach Charbonnet should be going ahead of him on sleeper. Jonah Coleman goes only 5 picks after him. Literally zero reason for that to happen. You named it. Aaron Jones is going to remain relevant in this offense. Kevin O'Connell is going to use him as an old reliable, but I'll provide the metrics for you, Ty. Jordan Mason last season, top 15 success rate, explosive runs, forced missed tackles per attempt. Aaron Jones was outside of the top 35 in all 3 of those metrics. Jordan Mason is going to lead this backfield, right? And anything happens to Aaron Jones, all of a sudden, yeah, you're looking at Jordan Mason being the guy here. And so if you get an actual threat at quarterback with Kyler Murray, if he proves to still be a talented asset, if you get a little bit of the mobile threat out of Kyler still as well, where you have to kind of guess, you can run some read options with Jordan Mason, even like this is such an easy case to make where there's no reason, again, in your home leagues over on sleeper, there's no reason you should be going RB43 over on, again, I'll switch it back to underdog going as the running back 38. Like, to me, this is the easiest top 30 upside case. And if everything falls in his favor, we get an unfortunate lucky break in Mason's favor with Aaron Jones suffering an injury at any point during the year. Like, we're looking at Jordan Mason as a top 20 guy week in, week out. This is, yes, I'm with you. This is about as easy as it comes to spot a breakout here rest of season. Before we wrap it up, I got one more running back that I want to talk about, Ty. If you've made it this far into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell as well, so you know when all of our newest content goes live. We're 3 episodes a week, basically through the end of the fantasy football season, so we got plenty of content coming for you all. Hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell as well. Keep this last player short, Ty. Jonathon Brooks. This is a pretty obvious one at this point. The man is looking 110% healthy during training camp. He's answering all the questions people could possibly have coming in. How dynamic will he look? Can he cut effectively? Will he actually be a threat after the catch? And the answer to all those questions so far, Ty, has been yes. He looks very, very good so far. The talent profile for Jonathon Brooks projects to be better than Rico Dowdle, who already overtook this backfield from Chuba Hubbard last season. And I know we've talked on previous episodes, right, that, the injury piece for Chuba Hubbard last year, but even from week 7 on, Ty, Hubbard led the Panthers running backs in snaps and touches only one time from week 7 on last year. You can say, yeah, injury impacted that, but like, I'm not sitting here and telling you that Chuba is a nothing burger this year. I'm not sitting here telling you that Chuba Hubbard is an undraftable piece. But the consensus is that Brooks doesn't look like a guy who's coming off 2 major knee surgeries. We are 1 year and 8 months out from his second ACL tear attack. Nearly 2 years out. That man has had nearly the double amount of time to recover and to set himself up for a breakout season, right? Typically, we see these guys come back somewhere between 9 to 12 months. This man has had nearly double the time to set himself up for success this year. So this is, again, super easy one. The talent profile is there for Jonathon Brooks. The Panthers do take a step forward this year. This is a guy that is easily going to smash, again, RB34 ADP and in your home leagues, still going just in the double-digit rounds, and that should just not be the case.
It's an easy flyer to take.
Let me correct myself. I just saw that Jonathon Brooks in your home leagues currently going over on sleeper. He's currently going in round 8. So my apologies. I did not catch up to that, but like other platforms that aren't updating their ADP as often, I'm still seeing Jonathon Brooks in the round 9, early 10th. And I'm just like, stop. This needs to be 7th, 8th round.
Oh, okay. How do I say this? I'm not expecting, when I say a whole lot, I just more so mean like, it's not going to surprise me if like Chuba Hubbard has a resurgence and that keeps Jonathon Brooks off the field, it's also not going to surprise me if this is a more 50-50 kind of drive by drive, very similar to how we saw Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard last year when both were healthy and playing. So this is one where I'm not necessarily going to push back on the need to draft thing. And I'm not going to slap you across the wrist that this is a valid take.
I think it's a need
like that, like you did for me, but
I think it's a need. Again, similar to TreVeyon Henderson. As soon as the backfield flips, it's too late. It's too late once the backfield flips.
I just don't know if it does. That's all. I just don't know if it does. But if it does, if you believe that it does, you need to draft him then.
Can I ask you what you believe Chuba Hubbard offers this team outside of the 2026 season?
What he offers?
Yes, because he's a $3 million dead cap hit next year. They can either pay him $9 million or cut him for $3 million. Say they do carry him through next year, it's up to $10 million the following year, and they can cut him for 1.5. I don't. Chuba, like, to me, Jonathon Brooks is the future of this team, the future of this backfield. I just don't know what Chuba offers them outside of this year, outside of change of pace, but that's going to become a very expensive change of pace if Jonathon Brooks overtakes him, which is where I stand.
We're talking redraft, right? We're not talking dynasty here, are we?
But this impacts this season, because what incentive do they have to run the brakes off Chuba Hubbard if he's technically under contract for next year, but they see, well, I guess we could get rid of him. Let's make sure we give Jonathon Brooks some extra run here. That's where I'm at.
You're not. I mean, you're not wrong for the stance that you're taking. Neither am I. It'll be interesting to play out, and maybe the final kind of thought to just take us home. I don't know exactly if this Carolina offense is an offense that I necessarily feel like I need to hedge my bets on,
which has been your stance all off season, and I'll back you on that.
Maybe it's because I got burned by it last year, but it's just like, meh. And also, here's the other thing too. You go back to the draft board and where he goes in drafts right now. Maybe this is just my strategy, but this is where I'm kind of hunting my quarterback in the round right after. So it's not. Sure. It's just one of those things where, like, hey, the draft falls a certain way. Yeah, I'll take a chance on Jonathon Brooks, but to me, it's not something that I need to go get. But like I said, if you think the backfield splits at some point this year, you absolutely need to draft him, because I can imagine it would not be a fun game to play guessing when that backfield would flip then.
We're going to do the same exercise, but with wide receivers tomorrow. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you've made it this far, turn the notification bell as well. We'll have a few more interesting players that we'll talk about there, and maybe a bit more back and forth like we did today. That was a little bit fun, because I think Ty and I agree in certain areas on these players, but also as you can tell, there's certain areas where, like, I'm more willing to swing, where Ty is like, yeah, maybe not though, maybe not, which is why we love this game. There's a difference of opinions out there. It's fake football at the end of the day. I'm here for the fun and camaraderie it brings. We hope that's what you join us for as well. You can follow our other socials. FFL is over on Twitter. The FFL is over on Instagram. Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook and TikTok. If you are a YouTube person through and through, you can get our shorts content. Fantasy Football Fellas shorts over on YouTube. Again, if you haven't checked out fantasyfootballfellas.com, if you haven't downloaded our mobile app, make sure you do that. All sorts of free content over there. We do have some paid wall content, our projections, some of our tools that we built out for you all to have access to, but a lot of free content for you to engage with over there as well. And still a couple things we're excited to roll out too. So make sure you download that app or visit fantasyfootballfellas.com. I'm at Lucas Wenzel on X, Tyler_Plath for Ty. We'll see y'all tomorrow. 6 wide receivers you need to draft before they break out in 2026 fantasy football this year. We'll see you then. Deuces.